Hello and welcome today to the Africa Digital Skills Conference. We are so happy to be with you. We are Professor Peter Penar, that is myself. I am the Executive Director of the Leaders of Africa Institute, and I'm joined here by Eva T. We're really excited for a wonderful session entitled Data Visualization plus Design in Tableau, and that's going to be our focus today, talking about data visualization techniques and design, but we're also implementing those techniques in the platform called Tableau. Now, some of you may have joined us for yesterday's session where we were looking at data visualization design, but we were focusing on data wrapper. Today, we're going to be using a slightly more flexible platform, Tableau, which gives us a lot more opportunity to do some creative things and some interactive aspects to our data visualization. But it also means that we have to be very cognizant of some of the aspects of design that will be going into our data visualization. So we're really excited for today's session, and we're excited to see a good audience here for that session. Now, before we get going, we want to say a big thank you to Mobile Web Ghana and American Spaces, as well as the other sponsors and hosts of the Africa Digital Skills Conference. The Leaders of Africa Institute has supported and organized sessions for this conference over the past 3 years, and we're really excited to do that again today. And I'm going to say a little bit about the Leaders of Africa Institute and our opportunities as well, because many of you who are interested in data visualization and taking your skills to the next level will be interested in those opportunities. I'm going to share my screen at this time. There we go. The Leaders of Africa Institute welcomes data and design scholars as well as research scholars from over 45 countries around the world, including over 35 different countries from across the African continent. And the Leaders of Africa Institute focuses on data science, research, as well as tech development. And we do so in a very applied way. So we take these skills and we apply them to some of the biggest challenges we face, particularly those surrounding the SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals. So think about using data science, data visualization techniques to bring about social impact in areas related to water management, public health, engineering, infrastructure, electricity, things of this nature. That's what we specialize here in the Leaders of Africa Institute. And in particular, for those of you interested in data visualization, our Data Plus Design for Development program is our accelerator for data visualization skills knowledge, as well as applied projects in those areas. And you can see some of our scholars here and behind myself. So I want to encourage you as you begin today's session to mention that we do have applications that will open for our Data Plus Design for Development program 2025 in November. And that program covers design fundamentals, as well as data visualization and a variety of different platforms, including Data Wrapper, Tableau, which we're going to get into an introduction today, Microsoft Power BI, and Flourish. In addition to that, this program is very much focused on, as I mentioned before, accelerating a capstone project in one of these platforms that is going to actually bring about data in a way that will make a social impact. I'm going to be sharing some links in the chat for ways where you can find out about this program, and when applications open in November, where you can sign up to be able to get an alert for those applications opening. Now, there will be 3 impact scholarships, full impact scholarships given to those that are attendees of the African Digital Skills Conference. This is on the basis of merit on the application process. So we're really excited to offer that as well. So that's a little bit about the Institute and a little bit about our flagship Data Plus Design for Development program, including next year's program as well. Before we go on, I would like Eva to introduce herself because she is going to be the lead facilitator for today's session. Eva, why don't you introduce yourself at this time?
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, from wherever you're joining us from. My name is Eva, and I'll be the lead person taking you through the Tableau dashboard creation and visualization today. I'm also the lead person for the Data Plus Design for Development at the Leaders of Africa Institute, and I'm so happy to be here and also to share my knowledge on data analytics, especially using Tableau as a business intelligence tool to visualize business KPIs and other important data decision making, and so on. So just sit back and relax and get involved in the section today, and feel free to use the chat box there to ask questions, which is very important because we want you to be engaged in the process as well as possible. And if you have any questions as we go on with the visualization with the course, just drop your questions in the chat and we'll be answering as we go through the course today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eva. And again, we encourage you to engage in the chat with comments and questions, because here at the Institute, we like to have our live virtual sessions be participatory as much as they can. And so we invite you to do that throughout today's session, including now. We'd like to know you. So why don't you share your name, where you're joining us from, so city and country, because we know some of you are joining us from all over the African continent. So please share that in the chat, and also share what your interests are. Are you interested in data science? Are you interested in areas surrounding international development, business? Tell us a little bit about yourself just briefly in the chat. And as we get going, we'll be able to reflect on some of those features as well. So again, your name, where you're joining us from, as well as what some of your interests are. Now, traditionally, the Leaders of Africa Institute is based in the United States. Our education studio is based there. But we are actually quite close to some of you right now. We're joining you today from Accra, Ghana. So that's where we are, in the capital city of Ghana, joining you today. So it's good to connect with you, and you can see those links in the chat.
Oh, okay. So I heard that the chat is disabled. So just put it in the question and answer box below.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that in the question and answer. So if the organizers are here, we encourage you to allow the chat capability as much as possible. All right, so let's continue on. And Eva, why don't you get us started for why we visualize data?
Well, hi. So data visualization is very critical in our modern day economy, and for every economy around the world. The reason is that there's so many data around, and if you are familiar with the data space, you know that AI is taking shape, and also right now we have OpenAI chatbots that are using various data to visualize information and also to help us make sense of all the data we have to make informed decision making. So the reason why some of us involved in this program like to visualize data is because there's massive amount of data out there. There is so much data out there. You know, when you visit the internet or you Google something, you leave a data behind. If you go to buy something from the grocery store, you leave a data behind. So how do we make use of this data to make informed decision making, even about your purchases, you know? So if you visit Google, if you visit Facebook, and you browse and you're chatting with your friend, you're leaving a data behind. So that is what Facebook will use to do targeted advertisement to you, because they are taking the data you left behind to make informed decision about how you interact with people, and also some of the things that you talk about, even the product that you're interested in. The moment you do Google search, they'll start pushing advert towards you. So we analyze all this data set to make informed data decision information about you. And also the other thing is that it's an easy way to convey useful information, because when you leave those data behind, we now know what you are interested in. We now know the product you are interested in. So we are able to make send your way information pertaining to your taste, especially if you like to browse about food. Now you get on Instagram, you get ads that are targeted towards you with food, with restaurants within your neighborhood and things like that. So we are conveying useful information about you. And also translation data in the form of visual is very important. It's an easy way to understand and interpret the data set. So let's say that if I give you a raw data set to make sense of it, it will take you a while to be able to comprehend that data. But the opportunity is that if I visualize that data set, within a second, you should be able to understand what that visualization is all about. So these are some of the critical reasons why we visualize data, because there is so much amount of data out there today that we need those data set to we need those data to be able to make informed decision about you, especially as we analyze the data, we make informed decision about your purchases, your taste, your interests, and things like that. And that is why Facebook, Google, Amazon, and all these companies are able to send targeted ads towards you because of your search engine information that you're leaving behind, especially the data. They're able to analyze those and make informed decision about your purchases, about your taste, about what you love to do on the internet, and also some of your life preferences. So these are why we visualize data set, because there's so much data out there that we need to analyze to drive inform and policy decision making.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to be able to do that in a very simple way, because many of our stakeholders that we engage with, and those may be business partners, they may be colleagues, they may be the citizenry at large, they could be policymakers, they could be politicians, for instance. A lot of these folks are not ones that are attuned to using data on a regular basis, right? They have the intuition for what data can be used for and how we can mobilize it, but they may not be as data literate as we would like all the time. And so one of the things that we need to do as somebody who is interested in data visualization is be able to take all that big data that Eva described and distill it in simple and straightforward ways that allows us to ask questions of the data and provide answers with the data in a way that is going to guide decision making, right? And that's why we do data visualization, right? At the core of it is to help convey that useful information so that we can be able to drive decision making. In addition to that, we create visualizations because we want people to interact with data in a way they perhaps haven't done before. And one of the features of Tableau that we're going to get into today is the ability to create some drop-down menus and other pieces that allows the viewer to actually interact with the data visualization. And we're going to take a look at some of the examples in just a moment. So this is why we visualize data, and that's probably why a lot of you are here, because you're noticing in your organization, your company, your agency within government, you're beginning to use a lot of these data visualization techniques in a variety of different ways, and we're going to take a look at that. So I want to, before we move on, I just want to also announce that the chat is open for questions, comments, and other things.
Yeah.
So again, please feel free to share your name, where you are joining us from today, and where your interest lies. So your research or your professional interest, feel free to share that in the chat. Now, there are a variety of different platforms for data visualization. R, Python are two open source data analytics platforms that you can use for data visualization. In our programs here at the Institute, we use a lot of R and Python because those are used in the traditional research space, but they also can do data visualizations. But then there are also purposeful built platforms for data visualization, including Tableau, which we're going to talk about today. Microsoft Power BI is another one. Data Wrapper is one we covered yesterday. And then there are a variety of other ones that are here. And the nice thing about these different tools is that they all have certain strengths and they have also certain weaknesses to them, right? And that's why a lot of folks in the data visualization field will learn multiple data visualization platforms, because a lot of organizations or companies will adopt one of these platforms because they align specifically to their needs, right? Because they have these different strengths and weaknesses. For those of you joining us yesterday, Data Wrapper was really good for publishing in different types of settings, right? Online settings like blog posts, right? Really great to make figures there. Tableau can also do that as well, but it's going to add this component of creating what we're going to call data dashboards, which is going to allow us to bring together a variety of different data visualizations or figures into one sort of data experience. And so that's one of the key advantages of the platform of Tableau. So with that, why do we choose Tableau? So Eva, why don't you talk us through why we might use Tableau as a key part of our data visualization toolkit?
Yeah. So why Tableau? Tableau is like one of the most popular business intelligence platform that is out there. And a lot of organizations use Tableau to visualize and also analyze their data. And the reason is that Tableau is also functionally great. in the sense that you can be able to connect Tableau to your big data set, or if you have like a data warehouse, you're able to connect Tableau to it. Then you'll be able to use Tableau to do live data analysis in terms of if your data keep changing and things like that. Because you are connected to a warehouse, data warehouse, it will be populating the data into Tableau, and live updates will be done to your visualization all the time, because of the interactive nature of it, because you are able to interact with your data set, with your dashboard and things like that. It makes sense to it. And in terms of the strength, it's easy to use. And also, as I said, most of the visual data analysis tool out there, like Python, like R, and even Stata, for those in academia that use Stata, you need coding to be able to do visualization. Especially R, if you are familiar with R, you need R Shiny. You have to code to be able to do those visualization. And it's the same thing with Python. And those are very good platforms to use. But also, with Tableau, it's so easy. Sometimes there is an opportunity to code, but always Tableau, you don't really need to code if you are creating like basic and simple visualization data set. So as I already said, by connecting the data to a database management software such as Oracle, SQL, and the rest, you're able to create live interactive updates as your data get uploaded in all these data warehouses in your organization. And also, Tableau is really popular. A lot of organizations are using Tableau, and especially in the financial sectors, they use Tableau a lot in terms of presenting their KPIs, key performance indicators, and also RPI, RICS indicators and things like that. So you could see that a lot of organizations use Tableau to interact because it's so easy to learn. It's also easy for you to make a good understanding of it because of the interactive nature with it too. As we get into the platform, you will see what I'm talking about, because you're able to interact with it, you're able to filter, you're able to do a lot of things with it. So that is why many organizations choose to use Tableau. But also, there are a lot different platforms, as Peter said, but all of them have their advantages and disadvantages, right? And I have been using Tableau for so many years, and I feel like Tableau is your go-to way to go, like your best option out there, because it can do so many sophisticated stuff that some of the other platforms have limitation to. So Tableau has different forms of platforms. Like there are a lot of Tableau platforms out there. And the most popular one is the Tableau Public. That is what we are going to use. It's free, right? But it has limited capabilities. And when we get into it, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's also the Tableau Online, where you can do your analysis or data visualization in the cloud. And we have the Tableau Server. The Tableau Server serves as Tableau kind of database or a warehouse, where if your organization buy the warehouse, it's so easy to connect it to the Tableau platform and start your analysis. And also there is the Tableau Prep. The Tableau Prep, it is like is a platform for data manipulation and wrangling. So if you want to massage your data, you want to clean your data, you want to sort your data, Tableau Prep is the best way to go. And also there is the Tableau management platform too. So Tableau has so many platforms. Apart from the Tableau Public, all the other and Tableau Online, all the other platforms that I mentioned here are paid ones. And most of the time, it's really, most of the time, if you have an organization that pay for it, that is very important because they tend to be quite pricey. But if an organization is using it, then it's very good. You can tap into it. But also the Tableau desktop is also a paid one, but that one you can pay for it. I think we will see the prices on the website. You can pay monthly or yearly. It depends on you. But the other platforms that I said, the server and the prep and all those, most of the time it's organizations that tend to have this, because this one tends to be on the pricey side.
And the purpose of sharing that is when you go to Tableau's website, it can be kind of confusing because there are different subdomains of it, right? There's the desktop area, then there's the server area, there's the prep area, right? And they all integrate to one another, particularly the desktop and prep and server, right? They're all designed to kind of work together, but they're kind of modules that different organizations will build on each other to be able to work with. Now, today we're going to be focused on the Tableau public version, the free version. And we'd encourage you to download it now if you are able to, or after today's session, so that you'll be able to connect. And we're going to show you how to do that in just a moment. Now, before we go on, obviously in Tableau, one of the key features of it is to create different figures. And we always love to ask this question: what are some of the figures that you think are really important to some of the work that you'd be working on? Are they maps? Are they line graphs? Are they scatter plots? Are they bubble plots? Are they area charts? Are there bar charts? So please share in the chat as everyone's introduced themselves. Why don't you share in the chat 3 figures that are quite common that you see in your space and in your work, or that you would like to create. And we're going to see how those are implemented in Tableau as we get into the platform. So open up the chat. What are your 3 favorite figures if you could only choose 3? Right? For myself, I would say a bar chart, because everything really works well with a bar, right? Bar charts are really flexible. A line graph is very useful because I like to show things such as trends or changes over time, which is really key. And I would also add in there a map, because I love maps. And a lot of the work that I do spans a geographical set of boundaries, right? Whether they be country boundaries or subnational boundaries. I'm actually a political scientist, social scientist myself, so we do a lot of that kind of work. So maps, bar charts, and line graphs. So feel free to share in the chat what your 3 figures would be that you would like to use and that you see commonly in your areas. Salawani, who was an alumni of one of our research programs a few years ago, says line graphs, bar charts, and scatter plots. Good to see you, Salawani. Chiffon says line graphs, bar charts, scatter plots. Scatter plots are really good, particularly because you can show the relationship between 2 variables. And so those are quite common. Say you're trying to show the relationship between the level of economic development in a country and then life expectancy or health expenditure. Those can be really helpful to share in the context of a scatter plot. Heat map, pie chart, line graphs, heat maps. All right, Ruben says the famous pie chart. Pie charts are quite nice in some settings, but one of the things we want to keep in mind is that the figure type needs to match the data, right? And this is a common mistake people make when they're doing their data visualizations. They can learn all of the platforms, all of the tools, all the coding, all of that, but if they fail to match the data to the figure type, then you failed in your data visualization effort, right? And that happens a lot of the times with pie charts, because pie charts are always showing parts of a whole, right? So you have one segment of a whole. So whatever you're showing needs to be able to add up to 100% of something, right? But a lot of times people will put the GDP of countries in a pie chart. But GDP of countries is just the amount of GDP for a country, and then you're just adding it to a pie chart. That's not showing parts of a whole, right? So that one you got to be careful with. The pie chart is one that oftentimes trips people up. Emmanuel says bar chart, heat map, scatter plot, right? Heat maps are quite popular these days as well. Those ones you see in a lot of different publications. Peter says bar chart and line graph, which is similar to myself, my namesake, giving similar examples of charts they would like. Eva, what charts do you tend to create in your work, in your data visualizations?
Most of the time it's line graph, bar chart, and I also do maps, because these are like the easiest way. It also depends on like what you want to communicate, and sometimes you also have to think about your audience, because you don't just choose any kind of chart or figures to create. You have to think about your audience and also which charts or figures will make the most sense, and also present whatever you want to communicate to your audience. So for me, line graph is mostly great because I always look at trend data I'm interested in looking at trends
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like if you're looking at GDP, inflation, and things like that. You want to see the trend if there is variation between the data set. So I tend to use line graph a lot, and also bar chart, especially if I have categorical data set and things like that. I tend to depend on bar chart, and also with maps. I think maps are very effective, and especially depends on what you want to project. So for me, I use map especially when I'm thinking about things that has to do with public health.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at malaria, and you want to see the chart, which countries have the highest prevalence of malaria, right? And in mostly in sub-Saharan African countries. So it really communicates really well with you, especially with a map. You are able to use different colors to communicate different things. And as we get into it, we will show you like in terms of even in the colors that you choose, there have to be consistency, and also the patterns have to flow really well, because you want your audience, when they see your visualization, to be drawn to it. If I see your visualization, you have like 10 to 15 different colors, I'll be 10 off, you know. So it's something that you have to bear in mind. And even with this visualization or this chart in front of you, you see that the colors they are using is very consistent here. They're using blue, light blue, and a pink, and an orange, right? So you can see the consistency here, and it draws you to it. So that is something that you have to keep in mind as well, too. The color combination.
Indeed. And that's the nice thing about Tableau, is that we may have our favorite charts, but the beautiful thing about it is that we can put them together in a consistent way in what we call a dashboard.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be creating together. We're going to be creating dashboards. And the term dashboard is just a word that we use when we create either using a single data set or multiple data sets, because sometimes data dashboards are going to bring together multiple data sets all in one. And it allows us to visualize and offer analysis to an overarching question or theme. And we do that through multiple figures. And oftentimes dashboards are comprised of what we call panels or panes. So these individual little figures, we're going to take a look at a couple of them. And often they're about 3 to 5 in number. Some have more figures there, but one of the things you want to be careful about in creating a data dashboard is you also don't want to overwhelm your reader or your viewer or the audience for that data visualization, right? So you want to include a lot of information, but we want to include the right amount of information so it doesn't overwhelm them, as well as useful documentation. So we're going to take a look at some data dashboards here that were created in Tableau, including some that were award-winning data visualization from our data and design scholars in the 2024 version of the Data Plus Design for Development program. And the purpose of taking a look at some of these good examples is because it's always a good habit to be in when you're doing data visualizations, to be able to look at what other people have done, right? A lot of times the inspirations for our data visualization and dashboards and our design choices come from what others have done, right? We want to include our own original voice, right? Our own original flavor into our data visualizations, but oftentimes we see different types or creative ways in which they're bringing things together in other data visualizations. We can borrow that, and we can use some of that to help us create our data visualization. So always be taking a look at the different platforms that allow you to take a look at data visualization types, and Eva will show on Tableau where you go to find that. So we've got this data visualization. This is a dashboard example. You can see there are several figures as part of this, and I'll get my cursor here. We see a map here. We see a dot and line here. It's another type of plot here. We see a bar chart here. And so that comprises 1, 2, and 3 different individual figures using the same data. You can see it's visualizing all the same data, which is GDP growth, which is the size of the economy and how fast the economy is growing. It's doing 3 figures, different types, and then it has some additional documentation or text. In particular, also a heading or a title, right? And so oftentimes with a data dashboard, you have figures, but you can also include some text here that will be able to tell the story. And that's what you're trying to do in a dashboard. You're not just trying to throw a bunch of figures at somebody, but your goal is, as a data, what we call storyteller, is to tell the story and guide the viewer through that visualization. In addition to that, take a look at the patterns here. It goes from map, it goes to then the differences, and then it goes to projections, right? So it even flows as you move through this visualization into different areas, oftentimes starting from the big picture or the macro, and then getting down to the more local or fine-grained aspects of the data. And that's a really good pattern to have when you're telling a story. So start big, overarching numbers, like the big numbers, the big KPIs or key performance indicators, and then move down to be able to drill down in that data to look at some of the specifics and nuances of it. And we do that by arranging our figures in a way that allows us to tell that story in that way. So that's done purposefully, right? The way in which we arrange this is done purposely. I also want you to pay attention to the spacing. A lot of us forget that good data visualizations have good spaces, or what we call white space, or this is in dark mode, so it would be, I guess, a dark space, right? And that's very important because the worst data visualizations throw everything all clustered. It's really hard to read, right? Everything is bunched together, but you can see there's a good amount of spacing in this data dashboard. Let's take a look at a couple more. Here's a smaller one. This is looking at youth unemployment. You know, the EU, which is the European Union, compared to the United States. So you've got a map and you've got a few bar charts, starting with the global picture, then looking regional comparisons, and then looking at individual countries. Again, it flows from the big picture down to the sort of the nuances of that data, and even looking at country over time, right? This is a very, very simple data dashboard. It's still a data dashboard, right? It's still got 1, 2, 3 different figures here, but it's a much smaller one than the one you saw. Here's another one that became quite popular during the COVID period of time, and this is one that Eva created related to global COVID-19 data, right? So you've got a map here, then you've got some sort of chart that has time on the x-axis, and we can be able to chart the changes in the number of cases over time, and then you have the total cases here, and it's sorted by the highest to lowest, by country and also region, and then you have total deaths sorted by region as well as country. Obviously the regions are high here because they're combining different countries, right? Then we can notice a couple interesting features in this data dashboard. You can see a drop-down menu here for sorting. We're going to take a look at those. And you can also see another one here, which is a slider that allows us to change the date ranges. And when you change either the drop-down or the date range, all of a sudden, the data visualization will change itself, right? So this is a nice feature of Tableau that allows your audience to be actually able to explore the data for themselves, right? Yeah. So they see the overarching data. They say, oh, here are the top 10, here are the top, all of that. They're great. They can see that as we see it here. But then they say, okay, I can't see my home country here. Right? Why don't I select my home country? They're able to go to that drop down here and change their country to their own, and then it will populate that information in the data visualization, right? That's a beautiful aspect and allows that interactivity to a data dashboard that is really important in some settings. Let's take a look at 2 last data visualizations here. These come from our data and design scholars. As I mentioned, the Data Plus Design for Development program at the Institute is the accelerator for data visualization projects and learning here at the Institute. And this comes from our data and design winner, Henry Dua, who's from Ghana. This is his data visualization. It's created in Tableau. And let's pull this up. Here, I'm going to pull it up in the browser because it's going to allow us to actually navigate this. Now, Henry Dua was interested in investment flows and resource mobilization in the entrepreneurial sector across African countries. So he used a data set called the Africa, the Big Deal data set, which is the premier data set that shows all of the investments in African countries and startups that are over $100,000 or above. So as part of the Data Plus Design for Development program, you actually find real data, and then you create your data dashboard on the basis of something you're interested in. So again, it's about applying those skills to something that is of interest. So let's take a look at this one. And this won the design award. You can see it's got a lot of great design features here as part of this data visualization. It's not allowing me to go down, but you can see the base here. All right, so let's go to overall investments. There are a lot of different areas. We can look at health tech sector, which is his area of focus, but you can also look at the different investors and funders that are there. We're going to focus on overall investments. And it talks about, it takes you through and navigates you through some of the features here on the homepage, but we can dive into one of his dashboards, because there are actually many hidden behind here, to look at the overall investments. So here we are. And this is real life data that ranges from January 2019 to May of 2024. And you can see that there are these different panels or panes. And you can see how it starts by these big numbers, the KPIs, right? And this is the total amount of investment across the countries from this 5-year period, just over 5-year period. So the total amount of investment was, it looks like $17.5 billion, I think. That's what it would be. That have gone into startups across Africa. You can see the changes in investment time, and you can see that is marked here, the max amount. What was happening during this period? Well, this was the tail end of the pandemic, right? There was a lot of investment money coming into different tech products and other products to help us sort of deal with the pandemic. Some of that investment has shrunk. You can see how you see a decline after the pandemic period there. So you can see the changes over time. Let's head out to the map. And when we talk about investment in startups in Africa, we talk about the big four, that being Egypt, which you can see here, Kenya, which you can see here, South Africa, that you can see here, and then Nigeria, the big four, right? You can see other countries are receiving investment, but you can see how much and in disproportionate amounts the headquarters for the startups in these big four countries are that are receiving the money. And if you scroll down here, looking at some of the top 10 startups here that received money, I think it goes top 20 here. Or actually, if you scan through, you can see that a lot of them are in Kenya and Nigeria, and some of them are in South Africa as well. So you can see them. Now, it's got a filter here, so I can filter different types of things, and the filter button is here. You can see all these design aspects here. So you can filter different years or different countries. Let's take a look at the country that Eva and I are presently in right now on behalf of the Institute. So let's choose Ghana. So let's pull up Ghana here in our filter, and it's going to be able to distill the information from Ghana here on the board. So it says that there's been about $612 million in total investments in Ghana. The average investment that has been made to a startup is $5 million. And you can see here are the key startups that are receiving the most amount of investment, including PEG Africa, which is an energy and water sector, receiving about 238 million of that 612, and so on and so forth. And hopefully, if you're from Ghana, as some of you are, you're going to recognize some of these different companies here, and you can see the types of investment deals as well. So it's really wonderful data dashboard that allows you to kind of drill down in the data. This comes from Henry Dua. Let's take a look at one other one. And this is a more simple data visualization that, again, is created in Tableau. And this is from Ngosa. Ngosa won the Best Overall Data Visualization Award for the Data Plus Design for Development Program 2024. So she won the award for the top data visualization. And she was interested in the intersection between climate change and food security. So you can see here we have a title, as all of your data visualization should be, and that was also included in Henry's as well on the homepage. We see some text to situate that data visualization. We see a nice little icon here to bring that out, and then we start with our KPI. Now, she's done things very differently here. She's got 40%. She said in the last decade, we have seen a 40% increase in the average temperature rise from previous decade, right? Starting with a big number related to climate change. And then she shares that climate change data here that we can see both here over time, and then we can see this on the map as well to see that the effects of climate change are uneven across the world. And then we can see how that temperature change has begun to influence food availability by looking at some of these maps. And she drills down in her home country of Zambia. And so she is from Zambia, and so she's looking at the precipitation across different areas. And you can see in the rainy seasons, which would be in this period where you see the most rain, that we can see that the rainy seasons have gotten less rainy, and that has led, in her view, to lower cereal production, or at least stagnant cereal production in the country of Zambia, despite increases in population. Right? So you can, again, see these are dashboards. They're including multiple figures, and then they're being able to bring those figures together to tell a story, right? Henry's story was telling a story about where the investments are going. Ngosa's story here is telling us about how climate change is having real life impacts on the ground for food security, right? And so that's a key part of your visualization that we sometimes leave out when we're all focused on the technical aspects, is that a data storyteller is a storyteller, right? And that's why these folks won awards as part of our data and design program last year. And again, you can join that program next year when we go that. So before I hand it off to Eva to get us into Tableau, a couple things to keep in mind just to recap. Focus on a central question, message, or story. That's what we want to do. Number two, as Eva mentioned, maintain consistency in color, spacing, dimensions, and size. Henry and Ngosa did something very well that we may not acknowledge, which is they created the beautiful aspects of their data visualization. And don't be afraid of the white space or the gaps in between your figures. Think about communicating the message through non-text cues, including colors, labeling, and eliminate any sort of redundant labeling. You can see how simple their visualizations are. They removed a lot over the period of time that they were creating these drafts. And then finally, allow a viewer to investigate the data for themselves, giving them drop-down menus and other features and filters to be able to actually not only see what you want them to see, but also for them to see things that they want to see as well, right? And so that brings me into our workshop component of this. So some of you may have been able to download a Tableau before today's session. So if you haven't been able to do that, that is perfectly fine. You can follow along today. Just take some good notes and you'll be able to follow along. Now, the place that you want to download that, I'm going to share the link to where you download that on Tableau Public and access that, and Eva will share that there. Yeah. In addition to that, I am going to be sharing a link to a data set, and this is COVID-19 case data set. It's a real data set of cases and other features we're going to be using for today's demonstration. I encourage you to download the data set. It's actual real data. I'm going to be putting the link in the chat. And that way, during today's session or after today's session, you'll be able to follow along with some of the exercises. And again, we want this to be as interactive as possible. So let us pause here. And let me share the link here in the chat to the workshop database data, as well as where to download Tableau Public. Here it is. I'm going to share that in the chat. So it's just a link that takes you to Leaders of Africa's website, and we've uploaded the file there, so you're easily able to download it for yourself. Mm-hmm. So please, the links are in the chat, so just take a moment and download the COVID-19 dataset, which is that Tableau workshop dataset file I've linked. As well as feel free, if you have bandwidth, some of you are dealing with bandwidth concerns, to download Tableau Public if you'd like. If not, just take notes and you'll be able to engage after today's session. Is there any other thing we want to say before we jump into Tableau Public and get started?
No, I think, we'll get into the visualization aspect, and some of all the things that Peter had described will come to life, like you see it as is done. So just relax and enjoy, and also follow along. If possible, if you can do what I'm doing, that'll be helpful. And if you have any questions, please drop your questions in the chat.
Indeed. And some of us said, I can't copy the link. Sometimes Zoom is a little bit tricky with copying. Just simply click on the link. Yeah. Once you click on the link, it will automatically take you to the download. So if I click on this link on my computer, it will download it on your computer already, right? Mm-hmm. So it will download it, and you'll be able to do that as well. I will also upload the data set in the chat as well. So
Okay.
in case any of you are having trouble downloading it, I'm going to actually add this in the chat. Just give me one moment to do that here. Just one moment. I will add the actual file in the chat. I'll just do this once. There you go. There's it's 7 megabytes. It's just uploading for you to download here in the chat. Because again, we want you to have that access. There you go. There's the data set as well if you're having trouble downloading from the website.
Yep.
Folks are managing to have downloaded it. Great. We want you to have access to that. And before we go on, I'm going to ask that Eva does this as well. Throughout today's session, feel free to ask questions. I'm going to be in the chat answering those as Eva continues, and she'll answer out loud some of those that need to be answered aloud. But also at certain periods of time, we ask that you give us a good to go. Even if you don't have any questions, we have this tradition at the Institute as we're doing the tutorial sections. Just add G to G or G to G or good to go in the chat. That just simply says, I'm all set. I'm following along with what we're doing. So we'll try that right now. So everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. If not, just give me a good to go in the chat or a G to G. And then we'll move on to the tutorial section. All right, the G to Gs are coming on. Because sometimes if you ask, do you have any questions, it's all of a sudden silent, right? But we also want to make sure that we're all on the same page together. Okay, excellent.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and share my screen.
All right, over to you, Eva.
Yeah, thank you. So when you get to Google, we are going to get into Tableau right now. Just type Tableau Public. As you type Tableau Public, you just click on it and it will take you here to Tableau Public. So you just need to click on Discover Tableau Public. Then when you click on it, if you have time, take time to go through. These are, when you're on the Tableau Public page, these are some of the things you see. You see VIX of the day, like some of the dashboard that people have created. Just scan through them and get inspiration from what people are doing in the Tableau world. And also learn. There's some videos, there are blog posts. I always come to the blog posts because these are very important because it tells you like what is going on in the data visualization world, especially if you want to catch up with what is going on. The blog posts have build your data analytics portfolio with these 5 essential charts and things like that. So there are a lot of blog posts here that you should pay attention to. So the most important thing here is that we want to download the Tableau Public. So when you're on the Tableau Public page, just go on Create. So when you go on Create, it will ask you to download Tableau Public Edition. So you click on it, then it brings you here. It says that you'll be exploring Tableau Public in 1 minute. Before it allows you to download, you need to create an account. So you have to fill your name. And after you've done that, it asks you to download it. I have an account already, so I'll just go in. Like if you have an account and sign in. So you see I've signed in here. So after I've signed in, it says that now you can download the app. So you need to download the app. When you click on it, here are the options here. It says that thank you for downloading. If you have a MacBook, you need to click on MacBook, MacBook Intel. There's MacBook Apple Silicon, and also for Windows, you need to click on Windows. So this is just the best way to download your Tableau Public after you sign in. And also you need to create. I also encourage everyone to create an account, sign up for Tableau Public, because that is where, after you've created your visualization, the best way to publish your visualization is to publish it on Tableau Public in the cloud, so that you'll be able to download it you'll be able to save your visualization and also download it and share it with friends. And also you can embed it on your organization website. So I'll encourage everyone to do that. So after you've downloaded, if you're able to download it at this point, that is fine, but you can also download it later. And if you have any questions or any difficulties downloading it, just drop your questions in the chat. So give me 1 second. I have already downloaded Tableau Public on my end. So So I'm giving you just like 1 second to download it. So after you've downloaded Tableau Public, you've gone through the whole process. And you open it. This is what you should see. So it's saying that this is your Tableau Public download space. So you can see Tableau Public Edition, and also it's asking you, do you want to buy Tableau? So that is like the dashboard. If you are interested in buying that, you can open it. So if you open your Tableau Public here, there is a lot of things here. It's saying what is new, and these are learn Tableau. These are some resources here, and as I said, read a blog. So with Tableau Public, as we already discussed, because it's a free version, you have limited options here. So you have limited ways to connect your data set. So the only ways that you have is you can connect your data set using Microsoft Excel. Text file is CSV files, then JSON files. You also have Microsoft Access. If you use Access in this day and age, you can connect it through Access. And PDF and spatial files. Spatial files are mostly like your geocoded data set. Then you also have statistical files. Then to a server, as I said, if there's any server that you want to connect your data set with, the servers that it has is just 3 of them. You can connect it through your Google Drive, all data. I don't really know what all data is. And also there is the web data connector. This one is if you want to connect with like a link, you do that. So the data set that we have is in Excel. So to connect your data set, you need to click on Excel. So when you click on it, it brings you to your wherever. You have to direct it to wherever you store your data set on. But before that, I want to share the data set for you to have a good understanding of what a data set is all about. So this data set is the COVID-19 data set, and I have like the region here, I have the country, I have the date here, and also I have like, this is total cases, I have new cases. So this is mostly the COVID-19 data set, and also there are other variables here. If you scroll through it, you could see that the other variables, they have like cardiovascular diseases rate, female smokers rate, and hand washing, and all those things. But our attention here, for the sake of time, we will focus just on looking at COVID-19 new cases across the region and using that for our visualization. So I will go in, and I'm using Excel. So you have to click on Excel. I'm using Excel to connect my data set. So when I click on it, I open it. Okay, so it says that the data set has been opened, so we have to close it. So when I open it, it's going to connect my data set. So here, the data set has been connected. So you could see that if you join us yesterday for Data Wrapper, you could see that in Data Wrapper, I was doing a lot of cut and paste to upload my data in the on the platform. And also when I try to do the upload using Excel, it just uploaded the first sheet that was in Excel. But with Tableau, if you have like, say, in your Excel spreadsheet, you have like 10 different sheets there, Tableau will populate all of them here. So you can see all of them here. And I have 2 sheets there. So the sheets that I'm interested in working with has to do with African countries. So you need to drag it and drop it here. So it says drag table here to create model. So I need to drag it here. So when I drag it here, you can see that it started uploading the data set for me. So it will take a few seconds. Well, the data set has been uploaded. So I want you to pay attention to something. So with your data set, there are different types of like data sets here. So I have text. If your data set is in the form of a text, you could see that it's giving you ABC and it's blue. So always make sure that all these things, Tableau has picked the right things. So here it's giving me ABC. If you click on it, it's telling you that it's text and it's default. So let's say that in case your number is text and Tableau recognizes it as a number, you always need to click on it and change into a decimal or whole. That's it. And here is country. So if your data set is countries, you should get the globe. The global sign here, you should get it. And in case, so here you can see that it says that string default. When you come here, it tells you when you go to geographical row, you will see that it says that country/region. Sometimes Tableau will not recognize it, so that is why it's very important. If it doesn't recognize and it says that it's a string, let's change this to let's say let's say that it's not. Let's tell Tableau it's not. Tableau already identified that. So Tableau, let's say that it's none. So you see when I did none, it told me it's string. And in this case, when I want to create a map, Tableau will not be able to recognize it. So you have to come back here and go to geographical. Okay, you go to geographical row, then you select country or region. Then you can see that it changed back to your globe. And it's very important because if the global sign is not here, if this symbol is not here, Tableau will not recognize it. If you want to create a map, it will just not recognize it. And here the date too is the same thing. Just make sure that your date has the symbol as a calendar here. And if your data is in the form of it's in numbers, you will see all this will be green. So you will see that it's turning to green here. So all the ones that are numbers, it turn into green. So our data set look good. Always make sure. You can also do the change from here if you want. So the first thing the Tableau says, go to workshop, worksheet. So you need to create your worksheet. So let's click on it to create our first worksheet. So you see, when we created our first worksheet, it's populated all the data set for me. So the data set that are in the form of strings, globe, numbers, they are here, they are up here in the table. So these are like measures name. You can see it has the name. These are like your measures here. And the one that are in text, these are values. So measure values. So that is what you should see. It demarcates the data set for you. The ones that are numbers, it has it this way in numbers, and the one that are string, it has it as measure names, and here is measure values. So when you come to your Tableau and you click on the sheet, you could see that Tableau said show me, the show me symbol here. It tells you all the different visualization or all the different charts that you can create here. So here you have table and things. They are now blurry because unless we put a data here, if we put a data set here, some of them will light up and it will tell you the exact ones that you can create using your visualization. So before we create our visualization, just pay attention to the top menu here. So the top menu here, you have your file. This allows you to save. You have your data set here. So your data set here, so it's telling you that the new data set is Tableau. So here you can edit the data source if you want. You can do a lot of things. So here you have your dashboard. If you want to create a dashboard, you can click on here and create a dashboard. You have your story. There's also a different way. There's story. Story allows you to create like multiple dashboard and put them in the form of like a book, then in the form of a story to tell. And here it gives you the opportunity to do the analysis. We'll go through some of this, and here too, this is the map. So this one, we use this to do the formatting of the maps and things like that. And here format, if you want to format your map, you want to format your visualization, you come here is front and all those things. And here is the server. If you are running it through a server, like as I said, a database, the server will be connected from here. And here Windows is showing you the tube bars and things, and help if you need extra help. So before I get into the visualization, I want to ask, is there any questions? Is there any question? If not, just say good to go, because we are going to create our first visualization and it's going to be quick. Okay. So the first visualization that I want to create is, I want to create a table. There are so many visualizations that you can create here. So we are going to look at the various COVID-19 cases across different regions in Africa. So you need to drag you can see that your region here, you need to drag it. If you drag it and put it here, it gives you the table. You can put it in the row, like, so first of all, let me undrag it. So let me undo it. So you can drag it. If you put it here, you see Tableau is telling you that you can create a table with it. So the table has been selected. And this is in the row form. You can put it in the column. So if you put it in the column, this is how it looks like. And because everything is crunched together, if you want to open it a little bit, you need to put your cursor around it and drag it a little bit. And if you drag it, it shows you in this form. You can drag it to make the text look okay. So now you drag, you can see all the names. It's coming out really well. So you can drag it a little bit more so that Southern African countries will show. The other thing is that we are looking for COVID-19 new cases. So you can go scroll down and look for your COVID-19 cases, or you can just type new cases, new. So if you type, it brings it here. And what you can do is that you can drop you can drop the new cases values here. You see, if you drop it here, this is what is giving you a table form, but we don't want to do that. You can put it in the row, and it gives you, it will give you a bar chart, but we don't want that. What we want to do is that we want to put it, because we are interested in a table, if you drag it, you should put it in text, right? So if you put it in text here, it populates it for you. Let me repeat that again. If you drag, because we are interested in creating the table, if you drag it and put it here on it, it will give you in the form of a table and in the form of like a bar chart and things like that. We are not interested in that. You can put it in the row. If you put it in the row, it would create a bar chart for you. Because it's a table, we are interested in creating a table, you should drag it and put it in label here, the T, that is like the text. And if you put it there, it gives you the table. And there's a lot of ways you can format this table. You can see we have the lines here. We'll go into formatting. What you can also do is that you can choose to transport your data set here. This arrows here, this one is for like the ascending order, and this one is the descending order. So you can choose to transport. If you transport it, it turns the table into a row, and if you transport it again, it turns into like a column. And if you do anything like I've done it in a column and you want to undo, you just go back to click on this arrow here. You just click on it, and it will undo everything for you. If you want to redo, you can go back and do the same thing. So just make use of this is your undo and your redo buttons. Yeah. So here you can, on this sheet 1, you can choose to rename the sheet. You can rename it from here. It's the same as your Excel. You can rename it as table. Let's just do table here. So table. So table. So when I rename it here, you will see that it's changed the name. The table is here. But the thing is, I just need a table. This is for the table, showing that I'm creating a table, but this has a name. So you can choose to rename this. You have to, the way you do is to double click on it and just say COVID-19 cases. Then here, if you do that, you can now format it. You can put it in the center. You can bold it. You can change the font size. You can change the color, however you want it. So now you are good. The other thing is that, because let's label this regional COVID-19 cases. And let's do left justify for now. So because I have regional COVID-19 cases here, the region here is not needed. So what we need to do is to click on it, and so you right click, then you just do hide field label for column. So when you hide it, it will hide the name for you. So the other thing is that I want this table, the font size, to be a little bit big, so we have to format it. So what you need to do is that you can come in here to say format, then you can say go to format the font. You can do that. So it brings you to formatting. The other way you can also format is you can just right click on it. If you right click on it, there's a drop down menu that comes. So what you need to do is you can click on format here. Then when you do it, it will take you to the same page. So on this format, you can choose to format the entire sheet, or you can do it by column or by row. So if you do format the entire sheet, you can change the font size. Right now, the font size is 9. You can make it 10 or 12, depending on what you are doing. So if you make it 12, it becomes bigger. Let's make it 10, right? You can choose to bold everything. That is this one, you're doing it the entire sheet. You can change it to dark black. And the other thing you can also do is you can choose to do it by the pane or the heading. So let's say that we don't want the pane that is here to be bold, so you unbold it, then it goes away. Or the other thing is, if you don't want the header, let's say you want the header to have 11 font size, you just come on the header and the header change to 11. And if you want to change the color to any different color, you can do that. But now let's stick to black. And here the tooltip. So this is the tooltip. So when you click on it, you can see that interactive telling the tooltip is, you see your region, North Africa, you see your cases to be 3 million. We will also format the tooltip in a different way. We will come here to do the tooltip formatting here. So the other thing is, you want to do the alignment. I want it to be center aligned. So you can do center align. You pick on the entire sheet. So you can come here and do, you will see that horizontal, the direction. You can just do the center align, and everything will align for you. You can choose to do just for the heading. You can choose to do for totals or grand total. We don't have total or grand total here, so we'll leave it this way. So because look here, Southern African is not showing. If you want to format that, you need to drag it a little bit like this. Then the other thing you want to do is that I don't want this, the border around it. So you can come here and choose your border here and choose the sheet, because you want to do it for everything. So here the total is has a line there, so you can choose to do, because it's the pane, this is the pane, it wouldn't go away. So you come here and do the row divider and do none, then it's gone. Or you can do column divider and do none. So you can see that everything is gone now. You have a table that is really clean. If you want to make it a little bit bigger, you can still click on it and drag it to make it a little bit bigger, like if you want space into it. So this is your first visualization you've created in Tableau. So that is like your table here. All right. So this will be easy to create. Then we are going to use this same information to create a bar chart. So to create a bar chart is the same thing. You go there and drag your region. You can put it in the column, you can put it in the row, it doesn't matter. Or you can just drag it and just drop it here, right? If you drop it just on the sheet, it will just put it in the row for you. Then let's do COVID cases or COVID death. Let's do death, new death. If you do new death, you can drop it here, then it will give you table. Or you can choose, if you come show me, it's telling you that you can create a bar chart here. So you just need to click on the bar chart. The show me is telling you that you can create a heat map, you can create a pie chart, it will transform. You can create a bubble chart. You can also create a box and whiskey plots. You can also create your tree map here and your table. So it depends on whatever you want to create. So here we are interested in just creating a bar chart. So you see your bar chart is here. So we want to, if you have to transport it to turn it around, you can do it. You can see that we have a bar chart here. You can do ascending or descending order. Let's sort it by descending order. You click on it, or sort it by ascending order. You click on it. There is also another way to sort. If you are not interested in using this arrows here or this symbols here to sort, you can come here. You see your region is here. You can right click on it. If you right click on it, it says that sort. Then the drop down, if you right click, the drop down menu will come and it says sort. So you can click on it, sort. Then when it's sort, it's telling you how you can sort. You can sort by ascending order, descending order. You can see you can sort it this way. You can do nested. You can sort by alphabetical order. You can sort by field. You can do manual sort. Manual sort allow you to drag them however you want it. Let's just stick with nested, right? Or you can just stick with alphabetical order. Let's just do it nested. Nested allow you to do the descending order in no direction. So you can also sort with field names. If you want to sort, you can have, it depends on what you're creating here. So we are sorted by that. You also sorting by sum. You can sort by, if you want to change it to sort by average, you can do that, median or count, or you want to sort by maximum, minimum, you can do that. And also you have your percentile here. So it all depends on how you want to sort it, right? So now it's sorted, and it's pretty easy. You just need to format it. So the formatting is mostly the most important thing. It's the most trickiest thing in Tableau. So to format it is the same thing. Let's drag it here. This is too big, so we can drag it a little bit up. Let's just undo it. Let's drag it. All right, so this is good. Starting all the names. I'm interested in seeing all the names. Here is here. So the other thing is that because this is COVID death, you can just label here to be regional COVID-19 death. So let's stick to this. Here, so we come back. It's the same thing. The most important thing is the formatting. So because we have the names here, we have regional COVID-19, there's no need to have the names in the axis. So there are two ways to delete this. You can go and right click and do, it's already saying that show header. You can click on it and the header will be gone. The other thing is that you can double click on it, then it will bring your axis for you, edit axis, and you come into edit axis and just delete that. If you delete it, it's gone. It's gone. So there are two ways of doing the formatting. So right now we've done this. It looks good. We can also come here. If the bars are too big, you can come here to your size and you tell it to shape it for you. If you want it to be a little bit slimmer, a little bit, right? So you can drag it. You can make it very tiny. You can make it bigger. So it depends on how you want your bar chart to look like. Then you have the colors. You can change the colors. Now we have it in blue. Blue is the default color. So you can change it into green or any color you want, right? So you can change it into green. And here, if you come here, you see the opacity. If you want it to be 100%, if you want it to be 50%, you just need to drag it and it'll be a little bit transparent or translucent for you. If you want it to be translucent, you can make it really translucent. Here, let's make it translucent, and then let's give the border, like say a red color, a green color. So you see, so you have the border to be green, but let's increase it so that it'll be. So if you want to use a different border color, so you can do that. So with Tableau, you have different options of how to present your visualization. Unlike data wrapper, when you have limitation, you cannot even do the border here. With Tableau, you can just change the colors of the border anyhow you want it. So let's stick with that, and let's increase the opacity to, and also here, you can just click on more. Then you have the option of different colors. And also here, if you know the color code, you can bring it here and it will do it for you. So let's increase opacity. Let's make it a darker blue, a darker green. So now we are good here. So now if you click on, you could see that here the tooltip is showing Southern Africa and there is spacing in it. So you can double click on the tooltip. So if you double click on the tooltip, you can come in here to format the tooltip if you want. You can change the tooltip to, if you want the colors to be the same as the colors for the map, for the bar chart, you can do it. So you just need to highlight it. So you just need to highlight it. I don't know why it's not highlighted. Okay. You just need to highlight everything. If you don't highlight it and you make any changes, it wouldn't work. So you can highlight it. Then when you click on it, you see that our tooltip has changed into a different color. So you can also do, let's highlight the region and make it black. And let's make it bold. The same for new COVID cases. You can change the name to however you want it. You can increase the font size. So the tooltip, you can format the tooltip to however way you want it. So now our tooltip looks good. The other thing is that you have to go in, the same thing, format it. You come in here. Let's format the whole sheet here. We can do the axis to be black. You can also change the font size. And here, what I'm interested in is that I want the borders to go, like the border, the grid lines and the border to all go. So I come back here, look at the row divider, everything is none, so which is good. So that means that you go and check the row and see the grid lines is this once. So make sure that all the grid lines is gone if you want. So when I click on it, you see the grid lines are gone. The grid lines for the row is gone, everything is gone. So the other thing you want to do is that you also have to check the grid lines for the column. So you can, I like to, with Tableau, most of the time, I don't like any reference line or grid line. So I always do none. So it depends on what you are creating. So right now my Tableau looks clean. There is one line here. So it's mostly the row for the row reference line. So I come in here and tell it that I don't want anything. So everything looks good. Now it looks great. So I have two visualization here, which looks good. The other thing I want to do is that I want to go in and create another visualization here. So this one is also COVID death. You can say bar chart or you can say bar chart death. And also the reason why I'm doing the labeling is that the labeling is very important because it becomes useful when you start to do your dashboard. So right now we have our table. The next thing we want to do is that do a line graph. So with the line graph, we are interested in looking at COVID-19 cases from when it started, it started to when the least case, that is from 2020 to 2021 or 2022, something like that. So we are interested in cases. So right now, let's pick the date here. So if you pick the date and you put it in the row, it will give you the date. You see, it's saying that COVID-19 started in 2020 to 2022. That is when we had cases. You can decide to put it in the column. So if you put it in the column, it shows you this way. Let's just leave it in the column. And we are interested in cases. So we put the cases here in the row. So when we did that, you could see that this is giving me a line graph, but the line graph is not looking great here. So it's just showing you 2020 and 2022. They're showing you when it's peaked. It peaked in 2021, then it declined in 2022. So we want it to be a line graph showing the trend. So what we need to do is that we have to come here to the years. So this is showing us the years. Let's say if you right click on it, no, we don't need to right click on it. So if you see that the years have plus there, right? If you click on the plus, it will transform it into quarterly for you. If you click on the quarter, it will transform it into month for you. So you see the COVID-19 by month. If you click on the month, it will transform it into daily for you. So now you will see the daily cases is looking flat. But this is not how we want it to be. So if you want to undo what you did, you just need to come back to the year and just click on it and everything will collapse. So right now, we are interested in looking at the daily COVID cases. So what you need to do is to do right click. So if you do right click, there is a drop down menu that comes here. So you can see that it's telling us that it's showing us our data set in discrete. But this data set is continuous because it was daily cases. So because it's discrete, it's highlight discrete, and this here, you can see here, the year has been selected. So the top one is the discrete and the below one is the continuous one. So what we need to do is that we can decide to change it into continuous. When you click on it, you see the continuous, it's giving it to you in continuous. Let's right click on it again. We can do quarterly. So showing us in quarterly forms. We can do it in month, week. But if you can do it by daily cases, you just click on day. Then now you could see the trend, which is showing you the COVID-19 trends really well. Or the other thing you can do is that if you're not interested in all and you just want to straightforward, you can just click on exact date. And the exact date will give you the same thing, the trend. So when we go back here, you can see that instead of it being discrete now, when you change all the dates, you come to the second row here, and you change all the dates, it automatically change to continuous because this is figures is a continuous data set. So now our line graph is done. It's telling you that there is 7 nones here. You can right click on it. You can say that filter the data. That means exclude these values or show the data set at default position, right? So the nones are like the zeros. So show special data. These nuns are like, there is no data set. So we can save, exclude them, filter them out. Or the other thing we can also do is when we say filter them out, we click on it, filter them out, bring them to the filter, show them at default position. Or the other thing you can do is you right click on it and say hide the indicator. So if you right click and say hide the indicator, it's hidden. So here with the axis, you can also change your axis, and the way to change your axis to do right click, and you can come in here, you can okay. So you can do the custom here. You can change it, the custom to anything you want. If you want it to start at 100,000, you can start there. If you want it to start at and end at 200,000 or 2 million, you can do that. So here we are not interested in the new cases, so we can delete it. And here we have our custom data set here. So the other thing is that we want to change the colors. We want all the colors to be uniform, so we are interested in green. So we want it to be green. And it's the same thing here. We don't want the dates to show this date, so we can hide, not to show the header here. Oh no, I did a mistake. So let's go in, because if you click on don't show the header, the date will disappear, but we are interested in the date. So let's right click on it and the axis will come and just delete the date from there. Then the date is gone and here is gone. So the same thing. The formatting is the most important thing because it makes your work looks cleaner and nicer and presentable. So always remember to do your formatting here. So we turn everything into dark mode. We are not interested in the grid lines. So we go and take all the grid lines out. So we are taking all the grid lines out. You do none and the grid lines are still there. So you go and do it for the column, none, and it's gone. You do it for the row. So all the grid lines are gone. Now you have a beautiful, clean data visualization. So we can also label this and call this like trends, COVID trends. Then the last visualization I want to create for the sake of time is let's create a map. Then after that, we'll do our dashboard, which is going to be very quick. So then if you want to create a map here, you always need to have the country, and the country has to show the globe, as I already said. You need to drag it here. If you drag it here, it will automatically pop up. So the map is showing, and this one is showing you the symbol map. It's telling you that you can do the symbol map, or you can do the other one that is recommended, the chloroplate map. So you can click on it. If you click on it, it's empty. And what you can do is that with this, it's empty. What you can do is that you are interested in, let's say, COVID cases. So you drag your COVID cases and put it in color. So here, pay attention. You put it in color. It's showing you all your COVID cases here, and you will see that there's a legend that has been created. Yeah, you can see the legend here. Then the other thing is that if you are interested in creating your symbol map, instead of putting this in color, you put it in size. Wait, oh, it didn't go. You put it in size, right? So if you put it in size, that is when your symbol map will be created for you, and it looks small. So what you need to do is that to increase the size. You can increase the size to however you want it if you're interested in creating your symbol map. But if you are not interested in creating your symbol map, you take it from the size and put it in color. So now let's put it in color because we are interested in looking at COVID and looking at where places with the larger COVID cases and things like that. So the other thing you need to do is that you need to format this, the COVID, this map. So the best way to format a map is, there are two ways to format a map. So you can go and click on the map here, and the drop down menu will come. You have different kinds of map. If you want the background to be darker, you can choose the the dark background. If you want it to be streets, you can choose that. If you want it to be satellite, you can choose it to be like your map to look like in satellite in space. But now we are interested in doing a light background, so let's just stick with light. Now the other thing is that we want to look at the map layout options. So these are the layout options. We are not interested in all the other countries that are shown here. You see Yemen, you see Pakistan, and all those countries here. We are not interested in them. So the other thing we can do is that we want them to go. So you need to come here. You will see here that there's the base. The base has been clicked for you. This is the base, and also land cover has been clicked for. So if you undo them, now the base is gone. Now the other thing you see is that you see the borders are still there. So you have to scroll down here, and you can see that country/region borders. If you click on that, it's still there. Then you do it by region names. So now the border is still there. The names are gone. Then you come here and look at state/province borders. So if you undo that, now it's gone. Now you have a clean African map here. So that's the thing. If you click on the names here, all the other country names, like as we did, county names is country names. Here, region or country names. If you click on that, you will see that all the other countries that you are not interested in are coming. So there is also another way to present the names here. So to do the names here, you can just come in here and drag your country and put it in text label here. If you put it in label, all the names of this country will come. Now it's looking bigger. The names are really huge here. So you can double click on the text. If you double click on it, if you click on it, no, it's showing you the text appearance. So what you need to do is that you can right click. Wait, you can change the format size is 9. So you can do like say 8, or you can do 7 or 6. So now you have all the countries' names here and things like that. If you are interested in the names. The other thing is that if you are not interested in the names, you see show mark label. If you are not interested in the name, you can come here and just undo the mark label, or you can just go and take your country from the text here. Then the country is gone. And the other thing is that you can also do formatting by double click on it. And this one formatting here is good for if you want to shade the background. Let's say you're interested in shading this background to a dark mode. Here you can come here and just click on formatting and click on the shading here. You can turn into a dark mode. Then everything will turn into a dark mode for you. You can do a different color if you're interested in. But now we are not interested in any color. We just take it out. And also the other thing is that we don't want all this border line to be there. So you still have to come here and just take all your border lines here so that it will be clean and there's nothing showing here. So so now all the border lines is gone. It looks clean, and this is our map. So we will jump into create a dashboard. Before we create a dashboard, you also can do filter. And the best way, let's say that we are interested in doing filter by country. You drag your country and put it in filter. You can see the filter is here. You put it there. So when you put it there, it's telling you, do you want to filter all these countries, or you want to filter custom filter, or you want to use or select from the list. The other thing is that you can give it a condition. That is that if you want to filter, like say the first 10, you can do by field. So you want to filter by the first 10 countries, you can do first 10, right? Or if you want to filter, by like say you want countries that have COVID-19 cases like above certain number. Let's say you're interested in looking at countries that had 10,000 or more COVID cases, then you can do greater or equal to 10,000. Then you put a value here, but we are not interested in that. If you are interested in looking at top 10 countries, you can just do top 10, and it will just filter just the top 10 countries for you. So we are not interested in that. So we say that we come to general, and wildcard is the same. Then you're telling it to start with, you can start with all countries that start with an A, all the countries that start with that B. And also you can tell it to exclude certain countries, right? Exclude does not contain, you have to, wildcard is you have to create a condition for it, right? So let's not exclude, let's do everything here. So right now we want all the countries to be filtered, so we do apply. So when you do apply, it will show here. Then the other thing you want to do is that we have you can see that we have the legend here. The other thing you want to do is that if you want your countries to have a drop down menu, you just say filter and right click and say show filter. So if you show filter, you can see, look, it's drop down here. It's a drop down. It's showing the filter here. If you want it to be a list, this is a list. And if you're not interested in the list and you want it to be drop down menu, you can come in here. You see the small arrow triangle here. You can right click on it. If you right click on it, it's telling you what you need to do. You can remove filter. You can apply it to all the sheets using that. You can do drop down. So you can do single value sheet. That is what we have. Or you can do just drop down. Let's stick to drop down. So with drop down, it's so easy to do drop down. You can select a country and the map will come and the cases will come. So right now we are interested in the drop down. So here you have your beautiful map here. So let's create our first dashboard. So to create your first dashboard, before I go on to create a dashboard, is there any questions? Is there any question or?
Or let us know in the chat, because this is the last section we're going to get through, which is creating those dashboards. So in other words, putting together all these figures. So as you're noticing here in Tableau, you're creating individual figures, right? And on the bottom, you see the bar chart, you see the trends, you see the map.
Yeah.
And it's really important to label at the bottom of your Tableau workspace so that you know where the figures are that you've created. And then once you've created them in the way that you want to as individual figures, the dashboard that Eva is going to create takes those individual figures and then puts them together, right? Mm-hmm. So notice that workflow. You go through individual figures and then combine them in a dashboard format, in a dashboard canvas, as it's called. So that's where we're going next. So give us a good to go. If you're so far following along, I know this is a lot of new stuff for some of you. So you're getting a lot of information real fast and quick here in our format here. But if you are following along for now, just give us a G to G in the chat.
Okay. Someone want me to re-show the drop down?
Yeah, there's a question from Kofi Isaac AJ regarding they want to repeat the drop down again. I think
I'm going to do it. Okay. So with the
Okay.
drop down, let's just take this away, right? So you can see that you want to show the filter of the country. So if you do it, put it on filter. You just do apply all, then all of it will come. So it's showing that it's been filtered, but it's not showing you as a drop down or any list. So what you need to do is that you need to right click on it and say show filter. So when you do show filter, it will pop up here. So when it pop up here, you will see that it's showing as a list. But if it's a list, I mean, it's taking a lot of space here. So what you need to do is that you need to click on, you see that small triangle here. If you click on it, it will populate, it will give you this drop down, the menus here. So right now it's showing us, you see, it's showing us multiple lists here. So if you want it to be a single slider, you can do a slider. Slider is that you just go in here and do that. If you don't want that and you want it to be a drop down, when it will be a drop down, you select a country, then it shows you the country map. You can just do multiple drop down here, right? So when you do it and you select, you just select Algeria will come, Angola, you select Angola and Algeria, you see it gives you different options, right? So let's do all. So this is how the drop down menu will show. So it shows the country and things like that.
We have one other question here from Ms. Chiffon, who says, please repeat how you filtered out some of the values from the line graphs and how we begin, let's focus on that.
Oh, do you want line graph filter?
Yeah, line graph filter.
It's the same thing here with the line graph too. It's the same thing here. You can just do countries and you do the same thing for the filter. Then you just have to do.
Can you put date in there as well?
Yes, I'll do that. You just have to do the show me, then the filter will appear. But I'm not doing for the country because I'll show you how to apply this and the filter we did in the map to all the figures when we create the dashboard.
We're going to create a universal filter. So these are individual figure filters. But as I said, you move from the individual figure to the overall dashboard. So when you saw Henry do us a dashboard and we were filtering and everything was changing, those are because those filters are combined. So they're linked to one another to be able to filter multiple figures and data all at the same time. And that's why you saw that figure change when we did that.
So the
We'll
other
get
thing,
there in just a moment.
yeah, you can also filter by region. You can filter by anything that you want. You can also filter by dates. And date, look, let me put date there. So with date, it's quite tricky. You can, with dates, if you put it in the filter, it will gives you this. How do you want to filter the date? You can filter it by year, quarter, month, days, and numbers. So it all depends on you. If you want to filter by days, you just do dates, then you do next. Now it's asking you have to select all of it. That means like the number of days, select all of this, then you do OK. Then now let's just show the filter for the date. So it's showing you all the filters. So what you can also do is the same thing, the drop down. Now with the date, you can choose to do single value date. And with a single value date, this is what is showing the list. You can do the drop down. With the drop down, it's the same thing. You can do slider.
Slider is probably the most useful one.
Yeah, so if
for
you
this.
use slider, this is how it shows. Right. But let's just remove this because, yeah.
We're going to come back there
Come
in
back
just
there.
a moment. Yeah.
So the most important thing is let's go out and create a dashboard because this is
And
really
before you do that, so notice the little symbols on the bottom of Tableau, if you won't mind highlighting over that. So those are individual figures. And then you see these little things here, the little storybook image and the little thing and the little grid piece right here, at the very bottom. Those are all different types of dashboard types.
Yeah.
We're going to focus on just a traditional dashboard today for the sake of time. But there are different types of dashboards, like including a storybook, which allows you to, take people through a slide. It's kind of like a slideshow. You show one figure or group of figures, and then they go to the next tab, and then they go to the next tab. Some of you may have seen that. It's called a storybook.
Yeah.
But the dashboard is just a general dashboard there as well. And one last thing before you continue, Eva. There have been a couple questions about the recordings and things of this in practice. It's my understanding that the recording may be made available during the conference. However, as you realize with Tableau, we're just scratching the surface of the tools and techniques for creating a data visualization in the time we have allotted here in this session. So again, if you are interested in really delving in deeper, getting practice, getting feedback, working on your own projects, as we've seen in our data and design for development program, I would suggest applying when applications open in November. That's probably the best way to learn about that. So Eva, why don't we continue on to your dashboard?
So this is the dashboard. You see, if you click on this tiny one, it create a sheet, and this one is a story. So the dashboard is always the one with like the 4 squares in between, like the squares, yeah. So with the dashboard, it gives you the default dashboard, which is like the small sheet. So you have the option to increase the size. So there are a number of ways. You can do it by looking at it by range. So range, you can put in the width and the height that you're interested in. Or you can do automatic. So automatic is, it will be bigger. So with automatic, it will adjust on any device that you show this platform. You show this
You'll be what we call
on.
responsive.
Yes.
Sometimes you create visualizations that have fixed width, so then when you view them on a mobile phone, they don't adjust. And I'm sure you've seen websites like this. You go to it and it's like, oh, I can't read it. I'm like scrolling off the side. Well, Tableau, if you have automatic here, then it will do that automatic resizing, or what they call make it quote unquote responsive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we have your automatic here, we are sticking with automatic here. So it says that the dashboard will resize to fit any screen it is displayed on. So it's already giving you the description. And here you can do fix. Here, the fix allows you to do your custom, like you can type in the width and the height that you want. So that option is also there. So let's take with automatic. And the first thing, you could see that all the sheet that we created has been populated here, right? So the first thing is that we need a title here. If you need a title here, you can come here below here. You see the object is here. Then below this is the tile, this is the floating. So below the tile here, you see show dashboard title. So you have to click on it. So when you click on it, it's telling you that this is dashboard 1. Then it gives you the opportunity to rename it. So you can say Africa, countries, COVID-19 cases. Then because this is the heading, you want to make it bigger. Let's do 22 and let's do center. So here we have the center. Let's bold it. So here we have our COVID-19 cases here. And also, if you want it to be a little bit more descriptive, you want your audience to know what you are talking about, you want to add a little bit text to it before you start bringing in your batch, your charts here, you can add text. So with text, you can just drag the text and put it here. So this one involves dragging it. So here, you drag your text, you can type it, or you can do your work like as I already did. I typed my text already. So you just do copy and paste. You just do copy and paste. 1 second. And just drop your text here so that you don't need to worry about anything. So let's do 12. And let's do Tableau book. Let me just type Tableau book. It's not populating it, so I have to look for it. Okay, yeah, Tableau book. So you do okay. So now your text is showing here. Let me highlight it and do black. Okay, it's showing here. So now you have your text here. It looks good. So you see the text have taken the whole space. Don't worry. The other thing is that let's bring the table below. So you drag your table if you want to put in your sheet. You can put it below it. So when you put it below it, you can see that your text has moved up. So you can drag it a little bit up here. Then your text will show here and everything. So the emergency of COVID-19, if you're interested in the text. And here you can see that your table is showing here. It's not taking all the spaces here. So you can also choose to make your table like this is showing in standard. You can do entire page. So if you do entire view, it populates everything for you. So don't worry about it. We will bring in another chart and all of it will go. So here you have your original COVID cases here. You can decide to put this in the center. You can just do original cases because we already know. Then put it in the center. So like it looks good. Or the other thing is that if you are not interested in putting this here, you can decide to delete this and do okay. Then it's gone. Then you can bring in text. If you are interested, you can bring in text and put your text there and write original cases. So text allow you to do a lot of things to your visualization. Then you change it to, then you do middle align, then you do the text. Now you have original cases here. So with the text, you're able to drag it on around. Now let's bring our next thing here is COVID trends. So we put it here. So we have the COVID trends here. So we increase it. So as you drag it up, you will see that it's here. The other thing is that, let's say that we want to, if you want to add the other sheet to it, COVID trends, let's just delete the heading. And the way to delete the heading is to do this and just delete it from there, or just do right click and say hide title. Then it's gone. So these are your COVID trends. So let's say you are interested in the map also coming. You can put the map in the middle here, somewhere here. So you can see that when the map came, you could see that it brought the the filter that we created here and the drop down menu that we created here. So let's say that you don't want the countries to be here, like the filter to be here. What you can do is that you can cause it to float, and you can move it to wherever you want it, because like new cases, the legend, it will be good for the legend to be with the map. So what you can do is that you have to right click on it. So if you right click on it, you select floating. So with floating, it allows you to move it anywhere you want. So let's do floating. So if I do floating, I can bring it down here. So I have my floating here, and it's the same thing for the country. So with the country, you can also do floating. You can do floating, the same thing. Then you can move it to, let's put it up here, because what we are going to do is that, and now let's close this box. So we have our COVID cases here. Now this one is going into the line graph, so you can just move it around, and now let's hide that. So we can bring it here. The next thing is that we have COVID death. If you're interested, you can add COVID death to it, but I think this is okay. We can add COVID death in the middle here. Okay. With the COVID death, we need it because it's not going to show regional COVID death. So you have your original COVID death here. You can also, in the same way, you can also add headings to this one. You can add a text here, up here. Then you see daily COVID cases. Let's do 12. So you see you have your daily COVID cases. Let's delete this and bring a text here. This is for regional, so let's do regional death. Let's do 12. So you can see that with the text, you can do your headings, you can move things around. So this one is here, we move it here. So now you have your headings, your COVID-19, your dashboard looks great, and this is the advantage of doing a dashboard in Tableau. Let's be uniform, and also just because because you're creating a dashboard, you always have to think about making everything uniform, everything should look good, and things here and there. Our text is 12, which is fine. So the other thing is that if I click on this, when I do the drop down and I'm looking for just a country, let's say I'm interested in Algeria, Angola, you will see that because it applies to the map, only Angola will show on the map. So the other thing is that if I want to apply this to all the other data set here, all the other charts here, what I need to do is to do, you can just click the filter, show all values, or you can just do this tiny arrow here. It gives you the option. So when you click on it, it says that apply to sheet. So you can say all using related data sources, all using these data sources, selected sheet, or only this sheet. So let's do all using this data source. So when you click on it, now let me click on just Algeria. So it's just showing me the COVID-19 cases in Algeria.
That's
so
the
Algeria
link.
is in North Africa. So this is what it had, 200 plus cases. And in terms of death, it had just 6,000 deaths.
Great. And that's how you link things. And of course, we could spend a fair amount of time trying to get this visualization to be perfect in terms of its design features, in line with what you saw the scholars in the data design program did last year. But I think the last thing that we want to show folks is how do we publish this dashboard. So let's pretend we've created these figures, we've created a beautiful dashboard, although we've done that pretty quickly in the time we've had together. And then the next step is us sharing it, right? In the way that you saw that we saw Henry's, for instance, and Ngosa's as well earlier. So how do we share those? Last thing today before we conclude.
All right, so before I go on to share, you can also add background colors to it. And if you're interested in that, you can just do layout. And when you come to layout, you add background. You can just do light green here. This is for the heading. And if you click on the side, you have to manage to click on the side, like the whole dashboard. It's just showing us. Okay, the whole thing has been clicked. You just do background. You just do light green.
There
So
we go.
now the whole background has showed, but not everything. So if you want to turn all this into other thing, then you have to come and do light green. You go to format, you go to the shadowing here, you do the light green, you go pick like the shading, you pick the light green, then now you have to do it for all of it.
Yeah, that's because the formatting features for the individual figures
Yeah.
is influencing the dashboard. That's why I said that it works on multiple levels. It works on the level of the individual figure in terms of formatting, as well as the dashboard level as well. So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind, because that can be a little bit frustrating when you're saying, oh, I'm changing all the colors here in the
Yeah.
dashboard, but they're not changing in my figures. Well, that's because the figures formatting is in those individual sheets that we created earlier.
So yeah, so now you can change the colors and everything. Everything looks good. You can do any different color that you want. And also if you want the border to have a color, is the same thing. You come here, you come to layout, then you have your border here. You can just do black and the border will have a
Perfect.
color. So it's more about formatting and things like that, but you can do so much more with Tableau.
So how do we
So
publish,
how do we
Eva?
publish it? So if you want to publish, you go to files and do save to Tableau Public As, or save to Tableau Public. So you say save to Tableau Public As. So you right click on it, and here if you have a Tableau account, it's going to tell you to sign in. So I'm going to sign in. I hope I remember my password. Okay.
There's going to be a little bit of a delay. So you notice that everything lags
All
when we're on
right. So
Zoom.
I've signed
that
it.
happens.
You can just label it COVID cases, Africa COVID cases. Let's just do COVID cases. Then you do save. So when you do save, it will take you to the cloud. So now it's publishing the view. Send into the server. So here you are. But if you have the paid one, you can just save it
On your computer.
on your computer. And you can go in and change
There we
it.
go.
So right now your work has been saved. It comes here. You can come here and change the settings. If you want show VIX on profile, if you want it to be shown on your profile, it will be there. If you want to show sheets, the sheet that you work on. So if I want to show, like I want people to have access to my sheet, and I just show VIX sheet, you will see all the sheet that I worked on. It will show up here. So these are the sheet. COVID death, someone will click on it here. All the maps and the dashboard and things like that. So if you're not interested in showing your sheet, you can just not do it. Then it will take you back to the dashboard.
Just the dashboard view.
Yeah. And sometimes if this you don't want other people to see because you created this with your organization data set, you can just don't allow anyone to see it. So if you have it here on your dashboard, nobody will see it. But let me allow people to see it. So now your work has been published. So if you want to download it, this is how you go about it. Just give me 1 second. You scroll down here, then you say choose a format to download. So it's giving you the download symbol here. So when you click on it, right click on it, says that download it as an image, download the data set, download it as a PDF, PowerPoint. If you want it to go into your PowerPoint, you can download it as a PowerPoint, or download the workbook. So if you want people to see like your workbook, how you did it, it will download your Tableau workbook for you. So this is how you download it. And also if you want to share with an organization, like you want to embed it on your organization dashboard.
And that's what Isaac asked in the chat. Yep.
Okay, you do share. So when you do share, it gives you the embed code. So you copy the embed code and you can put it on your website. And also if you want to share on social media and things like that, you can copy the link and you put it on the social media and it will populate there for other people to see, or if you want to share with others. So this is how you publish your Tableau. Because this is a free version, this is how it looks like. And also if anyone sees your work, you see it. So if I go back to my dashboard, I click on my name, I click on my profile, I come back to my dashboard, you can see all the visualization that I've created in the past.
Released on this account, yeah.
They are all here, and I can always do formatting. I can always come in here to edit and do whatever I want to do, and your work will always be here. Right, so this is how it looks like. So,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So any last questions for Eva, as we're going to say a few concluding remarks here? But any questions, or just give me a good to go in the chat if you are there. If you're using Tableau desktop, you do not need to upload to the cloud to save. You just download it on you just save it as a file on your computer.
Yeah.
So that's what we would say. But the workflow is very similar in Tableau desktop, right? So
Yeah.
it's going to be very familiar to you if you're used to using the Tableau public version that we've been talking about today. It's just some additional features, particularly connecting to databases, the ability to have a little bit better live updating. So when data comes into a database and you want it to populate into your dashboard automatically, there's some nice features of the Tableau desktop that allows you to be able to do that. And so that's what Solomon's asking about as well, this ability to update. And in fact,
With the data set.
yes.
This one is tricky. Because this is, because we are using the free version, if you come here, you will see that the only server you can connect with is your Google Drive,
which is like a Google Sheet.
So if you wanted to update, like if you want to be populating the data set all the time, then you have access to your Google Drive. So anytime you update it that means that if you want it to be like live updates, you have to connect it through your Google Drive. And if you make that updates or you add data to it, you always have to go to the Tableau public and refresh it, then it will show. But that is the downside of using the public. But if you are using like the Tableau you have like the Tableau desktop, that is a paid one, and you also have, like, say, the Tableau server. In that case, you'll be able to connect it. Yeah, Peter is showing you.
Yeah, you'll be able to connect it. Yeah, so somebody will upload the data to a data set in the cloud, say Google Sheets, JSON file, SQL file. These are all sort of different database formats. Then you'll be able to connect your Tableau to those platforms, and then it will update at the time that you want it to update.
Yeah.
So that's particularly useful if you're monitoring something that's happening in real time. If you're in a business managing sales and acquisitions and things like this, then you can have that update. If you're doing election work, right, election results are coming in, you can have that update right like that as well. Also, public health emergencies. If something like COVID-19 during that era, you saw a lot of those dashboards that were tapping into databases in the cloud and then updating. So Tableau has that ability to be able to do that. And that's sort of a key point to recall on that.
Yeah.
Now, as we conclude today's session, in looking at the poll that was shared with folks about the session today, one of the questions asked, how confident do you feel when applying what you've learned today? And a number of you said very confident, some of you said confident, and some of you said not so confident. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
When we're learning a new tool in which we're trying to do several things at once, right? We're trying to deal with the data issues, then we're trying to create the figures and the technical aspects of Tableau, and then on top of that, we have all the design features as well. If we're learning this for the first time and we're getting into it, it's very, very new. But as folks have been sharing in the chat, and I think this is an important thing, which is the rule when it comes to data visualization, which is practice, practice, practice. Right? So you will not necessarily be the best data visualization person overnight. It takes practice. It takes accessing resources, including this conference here and this session here, to be able to improve those skills. But in working with different data sets, as you'll see, every data set, every research question, everything that you want to visualize has its own intricacies, right? It's not all the same, right? When you're working on these data visualization projects. So that adds even another layer in which it calls us to practice on our own in our own situations. So I want to encourage you to do that as you continue. Eva, did you want to jump in and say something before?
So someone asked a question, can it be saved as a PowerPoint in Tableau desktop? And says you tried it and it didn't work. So it's also the same thing with a desktop. The advantage is that it allows you to save the work on your computer and you can go in and change it all the time. But also it's also the similar thing. You have to save it in the cloud, like what you would do. You have to, if you want to be able to see the code and the embedded code and share the links with other people, you have to save it in the cloud, like I showed you on the Tableau platform here. So you have to save it here. You have to do like the same thing that we did. Like you have to go into your Tableau and do save as in the desktop too. Then it will tell you that save to Tableau public. Then you'll be able to download it in like the PowerPoint thing. So that is like also the other side of the dashboard, because that is the best way to do it. The dashboard, the advantage of the dashboard is that the desktop is that you are able to save the work on your computer, and when you have done with the finished product, you put it in the cloud, like here in the Tableau public server. Or the other thing is that you can always come in and do changes and things like that. With Tableau public, if I want to change this, make updates on this here, I can come here to my Tableau. Can they see my screen?
No, they cannot.
Do you want me to share my screen? Can I share my screen?
Yeah, briefly.
Eva, your screen is not shared.
Yeah, there you go.
So as I was saying, with a desktop here, it allows you to save. Here you can save your work and save it on your computer. Oh, actually, wow, the new feature for Tableau. Oh, this is cool. Like, I didn't know. Like, now with the Tableau public, you can actually save your work on your computer. I didn't know because I downloaded it yesterday and I've been using Tableau public for now. So they have upgraded the features. So here you can save it in your, it's called Tweet Bits or something like that. You can save it on the desktop here and you can do your changes to it anytime you want. This is cool. I didn't know. And if you are done with the finished product, you can just go back to save to the Tableau public. Then it will be on your Tableau public. Then you can, that is where you can download it in PDF or you can download it in PowerPoint and also the embed code. And it's the same thing for the Tableau desktop. But this save on your computer was just added most recently because I've been using Tableau public for so many years now and it wasn't there. So, that is really cool.
Yeah, sometimes they do add new features.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to close out today's session. And again, practice makes perfect. So you can see the visualizations that we saw from Henry and from Ngosa from the Data Plus Design for Development program. It took a lot of work, a lot of workshopping, a lot of feedback layers, a lot of optimization of various things to reach this level. So we encourage you to continue on this journey to become great data storytellers. And hopefully today's session is a beginning in that journey. In addition to that, we also wanted to mention, as we mentioned at the very beginning of the session, that we do have the opportunity for you to apply to the Data Plus Design for Development program, of which Eva is the lead facilitator for. Applications open in November, sometime in mid-November, mid to early November, and will continue and will be open through January. There'll be some information sessions as well that you can attend to learn about that program, as well as to learn how to create a very quality application to it. And I'll also mention, because some folks said they've applied in the program in the past and perhaps weren't selected. It is a competitive process to get into this program, but I will say this year, like last year, there were opportunities for those that may have not gotten selected for the full program program to participate in the smaller workshop versions of the program that were fully funded as well. So just because you feel like it may be difficult to get into this program, I want to encourage you to apply anyway, because again, if you have a high quality application, then likely you'll be placed in one of those other opportunities if you are not admitted to the full program. And I've shared those links in the chat, so I encourage you to visit the program page and also to fill out the interest form. And that interest form will allow you to get a notification in November when the applications open, and also give you information about the information session that will happen before the application window closes. So please fill out that form if you got a moment, and you can follow the Leaders of Africa Institute on LinkedIn as well. There'll also be information shared about programs there, as well as the WhatsApp group. I'll also include LinkedIn addresses to Eva and myself, so feel free to connect with us on these spaces as you continue your professional journey, and let us know if we can be a resource to you or the Institute as well in your journey to promote data visualization and social impact through using data to help inform our decision making. So Eva, any last things you want to say, and then we'll close out the session.
Yeah, thank you so much for staying through the section with us. We went a little bit over, but this has been really engaging, and I really appreciate you, and hope to see you here again next year for the African Digital Conference. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And wish you all the
thank
best.
you
And as
all.
Peter said, practice. It's all about practicing.
All right. So thank you, everyone.
Anyway,
And take
thank
care.
you for
and
having
bye-bye.
you. We look forward to you next year. Bye.
Yeah,
Take care, everyone.
thank you.
And we'll stay on for just a moment longer in case there are any other